In 1926, the U.S. government declared compacted earth the cheapest permanent building material in existence. Homes made from it have survived 500 years. They cost as little as $5,000, regulate their own temperature, and do not burn. Yet across most of America, you can't finance one, can't permit one, and can barely build one. Not because the science failed, but because someone profits from making sure you never try. Roughly 7,000 years before the first American mortgage, ordinary villagers in what's now central China were building homes that could outlast empires. At Banpo, near the banks of the Yellow River, families dug wide, circular pits into the ground and lined the walls with thick layers of damp clay. The process was simple, but exacting. Handfuls of earth were pressed and packed by hand, each strike echoing through the soil, until the walls grew dense enough to stand on their own. No mortar, no bricks, just the physics of compression and the patience of repeated blows. These pit houses, some dating as far back as 4,800 BCE, sheltered generations through bitter winters and humid summers. The walls, half sunk below the frost line, trapped warmth from the communal hearths and kept out the damp. Above, timber frames and thatched roofs finished the job. Archaeologists have traced the outlines of these ancient dwellings, circles and squares clustered around a central plaza ringed by a defensive moat. The labor was shared by everyone, no architects, no specialists, just a community shaping the earth beneath their feet into something permanent. The evidence endures in the soil itself. When Banpo's excavators uncovered these houses in the 1950s, they found the compacted clay still holding firm 5,000 years after the last fire went cold. The method's logic is so basic, it predates the written word. Earth, pressed tight enough, becomes stone. In the mountains of Fujian, China, entire communities took the logic of earth building and scaled it to monumental proportions. The Hakka people constructed the Tulu, massive fortress-like dwellings with walls of rammed earth up to 2 meters thick. These structures weren't just homes, they were self-contained villages, some housing up to 800 people behind a single circular wall. The oldest Tulu, still standing, date back more than 500 years. Their walls, packed layer by layer with local soil, gravel, and lime, have survived earthquakes, typhoons, and even cannon fire. UNESCO recognized 46 of these Tulu as World Heritage Sites in 2008, citing their unique blend of communal living and military defense. The engineering is as impressive as the scale. A Tulu's rammed earth walls can rise 4 stories high, forming a near impenetrable barrier that keeps out both weather and invaders. Inside, families share kitchens, wells, and courtyards, living in a structure that endures for centuries without concrete, steel, or modern insulation. The Tulu prove that Earth, when properly built, can support not just a family, but a whole society, generation after generation. Their survival is not an accident, but a testament to the material's strength and the community's trust in its lasting power. In 1926, the United States Department of Agriculture published Farmer's Bulletin, number 1500. The message was blunt. For permanent buildings, no material cost less than rammed earth. USDA engineers compared actual construction costs across the rural South and Midwest. Their findings: rammed earth walls averaged 35% cheaper than hollow brick, with one test site showing an 80% cost advantage. The method needed no imported materials, only local soil and simple wooden forms. 2 or 3 unskilled workers could build 54 square feet of wall per day, with labor rates a fraction of what skilled bricklayers demanded. The bulletin didn't just argue theory. It detailed exact labor, soil, and wall thickness, even warning that the right mix of clay was essential for strength. Decades later, laboratory studies would confirm what those field trials suggested. In 2008, researchers Hall and Allenson measured the thermal conductivity of rammed earth at 0.64 to 1.01 watts per meter Kelvin, a range that means walls act as thermal batteries, absorbing heat by day and releasing it at night. Their year-long humidity tests found no mold, thanks to the material's ability to buffer moisture and keep indoor air dry. Rammed earth's performance is not a folk legend, but a fact, proven by both government engineers and modern science. The evidence is clear. This is a building method that delivers on cost, durability, and comfort. In 1936, the Federal Housing Administration, the FHA, issued a warning to mortgage appraisers. Homes built with unconventional materials were to be treated as freakish, a word printed right in the official underwriting manual. This label wasn't just an insult, it triggered real financial penalties. If a house didn't match the standard blueprint, such as wood frame, brick veneer, or poured concrete, lenders could slash its appraised value by up to 15%, sometimes more. The logic was simple and brutal. Non-conforming meant risky, and risk meant less money on the table. For a family hoping to build with rammed earth, that meant a smaller loan for the same piece of land or a higher down payment than their neighbors. The penalty was baked into the system, enforced by the very people who controlled access to the American dream. These rules didn't fade with time. Fannie Mae adopted the same stance, instructing appraisers to discount any structure that didn't fit the mold. Even today, automated valuation models flag earth homes as non-standard, pushing loan-to-value ratios lower and making it harder to qualify for a mortgage. The result? A building method proven to last centuries and to cost less than brick is forced into a financial straitjacket. The gatekeepers aren't engineers or scientists, they're lenders, following a playbook written nearly a century ago. In the official rule book for American homes, the International Residential Code, rammed earth barely exists. There are tables for wood, steel, and concrete, but not a single prescriptive pathway for compacted soil. Anyone hoping to build with earth in 49 states faces a paperwork toll booth. Section R104.1, the so-called Alternative Materials Clause. This means paying for a licensed engineer to design every wall, running laboratory tests on soil samples, and submitting reams of documentation for each new project. The price tag for this process can reach $12,000 or more, sometimes double the cost of the walls themselves. The code's silence is not a technical oversight, it's a policy choice that puts rammed earth in a legal gray zone, out of reach for most families. Yet the barrier isn't universal. In New Mexico, the building code spells out exactly how to build with earth. Minimum wall thickness, a compressive strength of 150 pounds per square inch, and no engineer required for standard designs. Permits are granted based on clear, published rules. Across the Pacific, New Zealand's NZS 4299 standard lays out every step in plain language, allowing builders to follow a checklist instead of hiring consultants. These exceptions prove that the paperwork maze is not inevitable. It's a gate that can be opened or slammed shut by those who write the rules. Every year, American builders pour enough cement to fuel a $17 billion industry. Timber giants like Weyerhaeuser add another $7.1 billion, their profits tied to the constant churn of new construction. The codebooks that shape what gets built are not written in a vacuum. Trade groups and industry lobbyists hold seats on the committees that update the International Residential Code. Each new edition is a battleground, one where cement, lumber, and drywall have an army of advocates and earth has almost none. Yet the evidence for rammed earth's performance is not locked in the past. In 1983, builder David Easton finished a home in the hills of Northern California, constructed almost entirely from compacted local soil. The house stands off-grid, its thick walls holding steady through decades of rain, drought, and wildfire. No air conditioning, No forced air heat, just the steady comfort of thermal mass, with indoor temperatures rarely straying outside the 60s and 70s, even in the height of summer. Maintenance costs have been minimal. The structure is as solid today as the week it was built, a living rebuke to the idea that Earth homes are fragile or experimental. The numbers are blunt. The incentives are clear, but the proof is right there, sun-baked and silent, standing in defiance of every barrier the system could throw at it. A home that endures centuries and costs less than a used car is sidelined not by science, but by the systems built to protect industry profits. As housing crises deepen, the real barrier isn't mud or stone, it's policy. The future of affordability depends on what we legalize next.